consider before deciding to have a destination wedding. So in honor of my husband and I's 1-year anniversary, I thought I would do kind of a follow-up video on my destination wedding planning videos. As I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I decided to make a video talking about some of the things that you may want to consider before completely deciding on having a destination wedding. If you are new here, my name is Nadia. I create lifestyle content here on YouTube, and last year I got married in Cancun, Mexico. Well, Isla Mujeres to be more specific, but I got married at the finest Playa Mujeres, and I had 110 guests at my wedding, and it was absolutely magical. I would not change a thing. But I am aware that there are a ton of questions that people still ask, and it kind of sparked the idea for this video. So let's move into the first thing that you may want to consider when planning a destination wedding. Number one, are you going to be able to be flexible and patient with the resort and the vendors? I cannot tell you how many brides over this past year that have reached out to me asking what I did to get the resort to respond to my initial request. Just getting responses in general is going to be very, very slow in the beginning. So you really need to have flexibility and patience. And flexibility is also going to be key, because once you send out that initial request, you may not hear from them from a week to 2 weeks. Sometimes I've heard that they haven't responded for a month. So you might be requesting, let's say February 23rd, and a month has gone by. Are you going to be flexible enough to say, okay, maybe we're looking at a March wedding or an April wedding? You have to have a certain level of flexibility with the initial booking process, because it can be lengthy. You have so many brides sending in inquiries, and I truly believe that they do their best to get back to you. But the thing is, what you have to understand is a lot of these resorts have business times that they're in the office maybe like Monday to Wednesday or Monday to Thursday, and then for the most part Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be weddings back to back. So they're not going to be sitting down answering inquiries. With destination weddings, there are oftentimes weddings in the middle of the week as well. They can be a more affordable, or like I said, that whole flexibility thing comes in. You might only have a choice at a Wednesday wedding. And if you really want to get married this year or this month or that particular week, you might be having a Wednesday wedding. So that might also cut down on the time that they are in the office able to answer inquiries. You are definitely going to want to be patient and flexible with the resort, not only for the initial process of booking your date, but the entire process, because there are so many brides that are trying to get that initial information. And then of course there are brides that are already knee deep into the planning process. So of course they're going to take precedence over someone who is just kind of poking around trying to see if they want to have a destination wedding to begin with. Patience with your vendors as well. There is going to be a language barrier, so just keep that in mind when you are communicating with your vendors. English or wherever your language is might not be their first language, so just be patient and kind. The next thing that you definitely want to consider is, what is your budget? I've touched on this a little bit in the previous videos, but a lot of people have the assumption that a destination wedding is more cost effective or more affordable. Just like with any wedding, it's going to depend on you. Of course, the amount of guests that you're having. So I would say on average, I feel people typically have 30 to 50 guests. I also get the question a lot, how much was my wedding? And they want like a grand total, but I'm always a little hesitant to share that, only because, you know, my dress, my husband's attire, bridesmaids, groomsmen, presents, all of those things are factored into the full amount of what we paid for our wedding. So all of that is kind of subjective. I think the more accurate thing to ask or to answer would be how much you paid for a particular vendor, or how much did you pay for the per head fee. Those would be more effective questions to ask, which brings me into my next thing with budgeting, something that I was completely unaware of prior to having a destination wedding is something called an outside vendor fee. During the time that I got married, the outside vendor fee was, I believe, $600 per outside vendor. When you are starting your budget for the wedding, you have to keep in mind these fees because they can definitely add up. I'm still a part of a lot of the wedding groups that I was a part of during my planning process, and I have heard some of these resorts have gone up to $1,000 per outside vendor. An outside vendor is just how it sounds. It is a vendor that is not offered on the resort or at the hotel, and it's not one of their preferred. So you're gonna pay top dollar to use who you want to use. Another thing to keep in mind with these outside vendors is you might have a photographer and a videographer that are both like, you know, kind of one entity, but the resort, my resort in particular, they saw a photographer and a videographer as two separate entities, although it might be the same company. So that's $600 and $600. $1,200 is automatically added to your budget, and that goes for hair and makeup. They might be like a team or a duo, but they see it as two separate entities and two separate vendor fees. So keep in mind your budget when deciding on a destination wedding, because it's not necessarily always a more cost-efficient option. I also wanted to touch on a question that I get quite often. That question is, why am I using outside vendors to begin with? Certain things are going to be more important to you than others. For me, I was willing to spend top dollar on those vendors. And it's not to say that what the resort is offering isn't good, but if you've got a vibe that you're looking for, if you are looking for something very specific, and they don't offer it, they just don't offer it. So you're gonna have to outsource it. As far as the decor and flowers go, I actually went and used an outside vendor, and even with that fee, that added fee on top of it, it was still more affordable to use her versus using the decor and florals offered at the resort, because you know, they're just a little bit more expensive on the resort. So you just really have to take your time and compare apples to apples to make sure that it's, you know, cost effective or cost efficient for you, and you're still getting what you want at the end of the day. The next thing that you may want to consider before booking your wedding is, are you okay with close friends and family possibly not being able to attend your wedding? Now, of course, your close friends and family have no malicious or ill intent and would love to celebrate your big day with you, but I'm sure all of us can think of at least 5 reasons off the top of our heads why someone may not be able to leave the country and attend a destination wedding. A couple of those reasons may be, hey, I'm pregnant, can't really travel right now, or finances, of course, can play a big role, passports, a fear of flying, you can't get off of work, no childcare. There are so many reasons why friends and family won't be able to make your big day, and if that is something that is really going to hurt your heart, or you really feel like you need to have every single person that you love and care about celebrating with you, then a destination wedding may not be a good fit for you. The fourth thing that you may want to consider before booking your destination wedding is the weather. The weather is something that you definitely want to keep in mind when booking your destination wedding. Obviously, I feel like a lot of brides are booking destination weddings for the beautiful scenery, the beaches, the sun, the sand, the water. But any bride that's doing a tropical destination wedding, you have to have the idea that things may not go to plan. And what am I talking about? Rain, hurricanes, all of the crazy weather that comes along with these beautiful tropical places. You really have to make peace with your plan B. So the fifth thing that you are definitely going to want to consider before committing to your destination wedding is, what is your guest budget? The people that you are wanting to spend this big special day with you are essentially paying to spend this day with you. So they are going to have to get a flight, they're possibly going to have to take off from work, and they are also going to have to get their resort or hotel stay. So I really wanted to make sure that the airfare and the resort stay was affordable and that they would have plenty of time to pay for their stay. So that is also something that you might want to consider. What are the payment options available to you at your resort? With our resort, I don't know if it's the same, but we were able to put $1 down to book your room, and then 30 days prior to the arrival date of whatever their stay was, the remaining balance was due. So that's something that you might also want to keep in mind is, you know, how affordable is it? How attainable is it, do you think, for your party to come to your wedding? You know your friends and family better than anyone else. You also really want to consider the time of year that you are asking your friends and family to come to your wedding. We chose October. I felt like it was a good time before the holidays started and wouldn't interfere too much with people's like summer plans. And also I felt like the weather was gonna be good in October, which like I said, we really lucked out. It was a beautiful week. But those are all things that you want to keep in mind for your guest. I really wanted to pick a time where they wouldn't be miserable and hot, especially since all of our events were outside. So I guess I say that to say, not only do you want to consider your guest budget, but you want to consider everything you possibly can, because you are asking a lot of them to come. You're asking them to spend a lot of money with you to, you know, celebrate with you essentially. So those are a few things that you might want to consider on your guest's behalf. So I actually haven't spoken about this a lot on my channel, or at all maybe, but I loved the process of planning my wedding so much that I actually decided to become a travel agent. And if you are a bride that is interested in utilizing a travel agent for your wedding, I would love to help. Feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also connect with me on Instagram. If you guys found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. I would love to have you join the family, and I will see you guys again real soon.